There are vacuum cleaners and airplanes going around my apartment, so I apologize if you hear any of the buzzing around this audio commentary, and there is going to be more to come. This is still piecing together the details, but so far, this is what we have on a 3-team trade between the Maple Leafs, the Bruins, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Frank Saravalli went out there and posted this. This is all we have. It's been like half an hour, and we still don't have any extra details, but I think, as we spoke about in the Jake Wallman video, in the Brad Marchand video, in the first Mikko Rantanen video, the big deal about this information is this guy. And this guy, you can say. Fraser Minten, Brandon Carlo, these are two of the biggest assets getting swapped around. Any extra smaller prospect or a later pick or salary retention, it's not going to change a lot of the main narrative about these trades, so I feel comfortable going out there and making this video the way we have this information right now, because the Toronto Maple Leafs have gone out there and acquired their D-man. Number 1 right-handed defenseman, Brandon Carlo. Is that the situation? I guess we'll figure it out. Carlo is heading over to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Bruins are getting a Toronto first, Fraser Minten, and then the Penguins are getting Connor Timmins and Connor Dewar, as well as some salary retention potentially being thrown out there too. Look at this. The Maple Leafs gave up so much stuff to get Brandon Carlo, to his credit, is a pretty good defenseman. 28 years old, 6'5", 216, a right-handed guy who was drafted by Boston in the 2015 NHL Draft, 37th overall. He is an industrious, shift-by-shift defenseman who lets the game come to him rather than chasing the play. He is able to quickly adapt to the pace of the game on the fly. Through maneuvering his way around the ice and making high-percentage skill decisions in all 3 zones, he is able to shut down opposition offense before it begins to take shape. Carlo is a smooth skater who can control the puck very well and get into open areas for scoring chances. That being said, he does and will need help finding offense due to his naturally defensive style of play. All in all, Carlo is a towering defensive D-man that has very few holes in his game and is physically ready to make the next step. Carlo, this season for the Boston Bruins, has 9 points in 63 games played. He has never been a top-tier point producer, as evidenced by his career high of 19 points in 67 games. That happened in 2019-20, and ultimately, Carlo just never really produced more points than that, even in the lower levels. I mean, he was productive as a U16 player, and eventually in the WHL he had some points, but he was never, ever a point-producing machine, aside from the World Juniors, where oddly enough he had 4 points and 2 goals in 7 games played. Carlo, though, is a really clutch defenseman for what the Toronto Maple Leafs are looking for. You can see in Boston there are some nights where he plays 25 minutes, some where he gets 17 minutes. It is kind of a weird divergence there for Carlo and his overall profile. He's hovering more so in that 17, 18, 19 mark. That 25-minute game does seem to be an outlier, all things considered, but he does have a few 20, 21-minute games here and there too, so he definitely is a minutes-munching right-handed monster. So heading over to Toronto, we were saying this the entire season, right? This could be a seller's market, especially in the past few days. It really amplified that seller's market mentality. If the Toronto Maple Leafs ended up getting Carlo for all this stuff, Fraser Minten, a first, Timmins, Dewar, there's so much going around to the Bruins and the Penguins. If you assume salary retained, okay, let's assume 50% and 50%, so $4.1 million right now till the end of 26-27, so that's an extra 2 years after this one. No wonder the price was so high. 4.1 million divided by 2 is 2.05 million. 2.05 divided by 2 again is 1.025. So if the Maple Leafs are getting Carlo for 2 more years at 1.025, yeah, there's no reason for them to have not given the moon and the stars to get this player. Assuming, of course, it is 50 and then 50% salary retained. If the salary retention is not 50% and then 50%, then we can just toss that idea out the window. But still, Boston is getting a first-round pick and Fraser Minten, according to Sarah Bailey's first tweet over here. Fraser Minten, of course, super valuable prospect in the Toronto Maple Leafs system, 20 years old out of Vancouver, BC, center left wing, drafted by the Maple Leafs in the second round of the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. He had 13 points in 26 AHL games this season and 4 points in 15 NHL games, has looked pretty reasonably good in the National Hockey League for his age and for his timeline. Obviously, he is so young at 20 that him even getting a cup of coffee in the NHL and looking passable is already a very good sign. But with the Boston Bruins trading away Brad Marchand, they traded away Charlie Coyle, they're getting these younger assets, they're getting their guys. It seems like they are retooling and trying to get younger. Fraser Minten, a guy who can play NHL minutes right now, is going to help that. So the Boston Bruins definitely are getting a fair share of value in this trade. You also have that first round pick going over, which of course is super valuable. Connor Timmins, Connor Dewar, you got some other guys there, defensemen from Toronto going over to Pittsburgh. So Kyle Dubas helping out the Toronto Maple Leafs one more time, I guess, going out there and making some extra moves happen to allow the Leafs get whom it is that they want. But with the Florida Panthers stockpiling up on all these assets, you have Brad Marchand, you have Vitek Vanacek, you have Seth Jones, with Tampa Bay getting Gordon Bjorkstrand. Toronto needed to step into. They got Scott Laughton, they got Brandon Carlo, they're getting some of their guys, and now all we got to do is wait and see what the rest of the details are. Let's go out there and scroll in this Twitter thread to read some of the other things. The Bruins fleeced the Laughs again. Who really knows there? Who got the best haul? The Pens, the Leafs, or the Bruins? Honestly, I do like Boston, so I would be inclined to vote for them, but I actually do like Carlo at potentially 75% retained for an extra 2 seasons. I really like that for Toronto. I'm going to say that they did very good work here. The problem with trading Carlo for a first-round pick is that Sweeney is among the worst drafters in the NHL. Yeah, okay, we can take that idea into account over here. Let's go over to the Toronto Maple Leafs subreddit as well, because they had a conversation going on about this trade idea. This is better than the Laughton trade, in my opinion. Yeah, we want to keep Fraser Minten. He's a soon-to-be ready young center, a great prospect, but you don't get a top 4D for nothing, and he's not nothing. Carlo for 2 more seasons at only $2 million cap, assuming 50% retention? That's the price you pay, even if I'm sad about it. Also, with Laughton here next year, Minten doesn't really have a shot in the roster next season either. Yeah, we get 2.5 seasons of Carlo, who is not only a top 4D, he is a top pairing D and very good at being defensive. Pair him with Riley and all of a sudden we have one of the best D cores in the league. Riley, Carlo, McCabe, Tanev, and then whomever with OEL in the third pairing is just very effing nice. Not a huge fan of Simon Benoit, but he's not bad. I'd prefer Myers in over Benoit. Benoit by actually quite a large margin has been our worst analytical D-man. Carlo is a top 4 at max elsewhere, but given our circumstances, he would be the Maple Leafs' top right-handed defenseman, which is more of how bad their depth is rather than how good Carlo is. McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, OEL, Myers, pretty damn solid. Man, OEL Myers. That's so funny to me as a Vancouver Canucks fan, remembering Tyler Myers and OEL as a pairing in the Canucks roster, but still, yeah, there's a different Myers in Toronto, if you hadn't already figured it out. Did Pittsburgh just take those 2 guys and retain and not get any draft picks in return? That doesn't seem like it makes any sense unless Dubas really likes those 2 guys. Dubas loves his guys, so who really knows if there's an extra draft pick or 2 going over to Pittsburgh for helping facilitate this deal. Anyways, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this trade right here. Brandon Carlo is a Toronto Maple Leaf. Fraser Minten is heading over to Boston. There's some extra salary retained that we have yet to figure out, but for now, thoughts in the comment section about this huge deal. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.